forming political alliances. Binwell is the independent member of parliament from Ghana, born on the 9th of October 1982. He's a Zambian politician and businessman with a background in accounting. Mr. Mpundu previously served as Kitwe District Commissioner from 2017 to 2020 and has been vocal about governance issues, even founding the movement for good governance, Ichawaiche, to encourage youth participation. He's known for his straightforward language in Parliament, which has led to suspensions, but he has pledged to moderate his tone. Mr. Mpundu has also faced legal issues, including a sedition charge over a social media post urging politicians to, quote-unquote, buy guns for self-defense. Mr. Mpundu joins me on the hot seat, and I'm your host, Chisha Mwambe. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Morning, Wachisha. How are you doing, my brother?
Doing good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, very well.
You can catch us live on our Facebook page, that's Hot FM Zambia. We're also live on Kwitu FM 93.3, that is our sister station. We're live on Kenele FM 97.7 in Lundazi as well. Let's begin our conversation, Mr. Mpundu. Last week we saw the Ichawaiche joining the Tonse Alliance led by presidential candidate Brian Mundubile. And that was quite an interesting alliance that maybe some people didn't expect. Ichawaiche and Ichawakuru coming together. What necessitated this decision, sir?
First of all, Chisha, I'm very grateful for the invitation. I had to drive very early from Kitwe not to miss this conversation because it comes at a very important time when a number of questions are being asked, particularly why we have found it befitting that we join hands with our colleagues. Let me start by stating that for a very long time, Chisha, young people have simply been regarded as pawns in the game of politics. They've simply been used as tools by those who wants to get into political offices. And of course, they've been riding under the adage, young people are future leaders, which future, unfortunately, I argue, has never been clearly defined. Because I am 43 years today, but there are some people who still think, no, you're the Mwaiche. Okay, so true to say, the future they speak about when young people are going to be leaders is simply, a cleverly concocted, arrangement to keep young people in the terraces, hoping one day it will be their turn. So we thought with my colleagues 2 years ago that we needed to create a special vehicle or a special platform that will give an opportunity to young people to also sit on the table of decision making. Now, from experience, it proved very difficult for young people, no matter how much work we put in, to be accorded a place on the table of decision making. As an example, the current leadership, there's no young person who sits on the table of decision making alongside President HH, despite him speaking about his love for young people over and over again. Besides, even his trump card was a young people who he went to saying, if you are now, say, Bali, we are going to give you opportunities as young people. So we found it befitting, myself and my friends, that we needed to bridge this gap. We needed to give an opportunity to young people. After all, when you look at the problems of Zambia, I don't think that most of the leaders we have today have got the capacity to resolve the challenges of Zambia. Zambia's problems requires innovation. Zambia's problem requires fresh thinking, which resides with the young people. So it's only prudent that we give an opportunity to young people so that they can bring their freshness, they can bring their innovations, into the equation so far as resolving the problems of Zambia is concerned. So we have been on this journey propagating that young people's time has come. Now, there were several calls that were being made, because between you and me, let me say this, and I know that it's going to be a controversial statement and is obviously subject to rebuttals. Today, we can arguably boast that we could be the biggest political group in the country today.
Based on what? What are the
metrics? Based
metrics?
on the numbers. Okay?
Social media or real
numbers. Remember, when you say, I want to join Ichabaiche, we now have a format. You have to go through a process. You fill up a form. We give you a membership card. Right now, as we speak, our membership is clocking 1 million. Because already those who have already gotten their membership card, as I posted, my colleagues posted yesterday, we are over 600,000. Those who are sitting on our WhatsApp groups who have not yet gotten their cards are in excess of 600,000. So we can basically say we are clocking 1 million members as we speak now. Now, hypothetically speaking, there is no political group today that can boast or can say they have got a membership close to 1 million. Not even the UPND. By the way, to qualify that, nobody should ever suggest that because UPND got 2.8 million votes, then they have 2.8 million members. It's not possible. The people that vote don't vote because they are members of a political party. Voting is based on your feelings on that particular day. As I can conclude or say from what has been said by many, those who voted for UPND were not UPND members. There are 3/4 of those who were just frustrated with PF who decided to cast their vote on UPND. So to suggest today that UPND could be having 2.8 million is simply an illusion. And so when we say we have got about 1 million members, it tells you we could arguably be the biggest political party.
Is this across the country?
Across the country.
How long did it take for you to get to
It has taken us 2 years. This initiative was birthed in December 2023. So it has basically taken us 2 years and a month of us getting those numbers. Now, those are people that have actually subscribed to our platforms and who have actually gone ahead to even get membership cards. But there are quite a number of those who subscribe to the Ichabaiche who, for one reason or another, do not want to be part of our WhatsApp groups or do not want to become members by way of getting membership cards because of the nature of what they do. Civil servants, as an example, don't want to be part of our platform for fear of victimization. There are those who are doing business, who don't want to be identified to be associating with the Ichabaiche and have not been part of these platforms. So we can actually be bigger than the numbers we are, pronouncing now. So
these tangible voters.
These are tangible voters. By the way, for you to get our membership card, there is a form you have to fill, and one of the gaps you have to fill in is a membership, or rather a voter's card number. So when we speak about those who have already gotten their membership card being over 600,000, we're already speaking of having over 600,000 registered voters who have gone ahead to even get membership cards. So if we were going to be a very selfish people, me as Binwell Mpundu, who wants to lead this country, who wanted to lead this country in the August 2026 election, I could have based, my standing on these numbers, and we would have gone ahead to participate in the election, and we could have actually been a force to reckon with because of the numbers, right? If we wanted, and against all odds, I want to repeat this without being, afraid of being misunderstood. We arguably are the biggest political group at the moment. And if we wanted to be selfish, we could have gone ahead and participated in the August 2026 general election.
So why did you join hands with Tonse? Those are big numbers.
Yes, those are big numbers, but Chisha, 1 million votes, 1.5 million votes are still not sufficient for us to win the election. Now, for me, I want to say categorically, it would be foolish of a politician today, considering the political environment that has been created by the UPND, to go into the election of August only for you to be on record as having participated in the election. It will be irresponsible, let me say, for lack of being misunderstood, it will be foolish of any politician today to go into this election just so that you can get a councillor, just so that you can get a member of parliament, because there is now proportionate representation, just because you want to be on record that you came number 2, 3, or 4.
Why is it foolish? Why is it foolish? Why is that concept foolish?
Because right now, if you ask any Zambian now, every Zambian today is calling for regime change because of the so many things that have disappointed the Zambians, particularly what the UPND have been able to do.
Isn't every Zambian, is that a real...
Well, it is obviously not it's not every Zambian, but it is a majority of the Zambian. I can challenge you, if you walked out of these studios, speak to 10 people. I can bet $1 million kwacha if you get 3 out of those 10 people you are going to interact with today who will tell you they will still go ahead and vote for UPND. We are ground people. To our background, we interact with people, and this is the response you get everywhere you will go. If you're going to interact with 10 people, 3, if you'll be too lucky, and I say that with extreme certainty, you'll be too lucky that you are going to get 3 people who will say they are going to vote for UPND. The majority of the Zambians are fed up. They are tired of lies. They are tired of illusions of the UPND. They just can't put up with the mess that the UPND have created, and they are resolved to change. Now, to beat the UPND, unfortunately, there is no one political party I can speak of now who can dislodge the UPND. I am boasting of those numbers, but those numbers, unfortunately, Chisha, are not sufficient to beat the UPND. And this is evident, and everybody is speaking about the need for unity, because everybody realizes that this monster, the UPND, with all their machinations and mingalatos, as they are calling it, with all the attempts to amend the laws so that they can manipulate the elections, cannot be beaten by one individual or by one political parties. There is need for political parties to unite, which is why we have given up our superior position in the political arena today. And I say that with certainty. Our superior position, because of the numbers we have had to let go.
So,
okay,
in this instance, as you get into this alliance, are you the presidential candidate then? Or what is your role? What happens now?
So we've gone into this alliance knowing very fully by the rules of the alliance that when they went into the convention, the person that was elected president would ultimately become be the flag bearer. And in this case, this is Honorable Brian Mundubile. Now, when people come together, let me say this of course, I hope I will not be misunderstood. We've gone into this alliance, of course, knowing fully that the alliance has settled for a candidate who's going to participate in the election, who is Honorable Brian Mundubile. But you see, nature plays different courses or cards. Peradventure today, the UPND played a mingalato and removed Brian Mundubile. The alliance obviously will pick another candidate. So as it is now, and I'm not speaking as a spokesperson of the alliance, but I'm just assuming it is the way it would play out. At the moment, Honorable Brian Mundubile is our flag bearer.
Are you running
anything? No.
So what's your role? What are you going? Because you come in with huge leverage.
Yes.
You talk about very big numbers, clocking 1 million. So you command a huge following. A person with such a huge following, they already had their convention. They picked Honorable Brian Mundubile. What's your role? What are you going
First
in
of all, Honorable Brian and the Alliance have not yet picked a running mate. Chances are that they could pick Binwell Mpundu, or they could pick anybody else. Those are the chances.
What's your expectation?
My expectation is, if I was picked as a running mate, I would actually, excuse myself. Because we are in such a polarized, situation politically that 2 people coming from one region running as president and vice would be held, with skepticism. So if I was offered that, and I hope that I don't close, those chances of consideration, I would reluctantly say, please, let's give another person so that we seem balanced, across regions. Because, you see, there are few things that have happened in the political arena, tribalism and all this, that we must now be working towards addressing. And I hope that the alliance would work hard in trying to at least balance up or level up so that participation is even. We give opportunities to everybody, from across regions and from across tribes. So, one thing is sure in this alliance, there is a candidate already identified to lead. What has not yet been agreed is the candidate that is going to be second. Should that chance come to me, I would be very grateful. But I think it would only be fair that we pick a person who could be hailing from another region. I think that is only what is fair. Now, that for you, or rather from me, tells you just how much prepared I am to take any role or to play any role in this fight. Because if, and I want to repeat this, I was a selfish guy, I could have gone into this election and I would have gotten home with a lot of numbers. And I would have actually taken a number of young people into parliament by way of proportionate representation. Remember, the amount of votes you get as a presidential candidate qualifies you to actually get people that you can nominate into parliament by way of proportionate representation. So with those numbers, it is possible we could come out second or third, and it is possible that we could have sent a lot of our members into parliament by way of proportionate representation. So the question is, why didn't I do that? I didn't do that. I didn't pursue that route because we can't go into this election for trial and error, or for numbers, or for recognition, or for history's sake. We have to go into this election to win it. Because this monster, if he wins, and I mean not as an individual, when I say monster, the UPND as an organization, if they win, I shudder to think there will ever be any opposition in Zambia.
Why do you say that?
Because what they've been able to do right now is they've passed an infamous Bill 7, which in context addressed non-contentious issues of our constitution. They are determined to go back and address the contentious issues. And part of the contentious issues may include removing, the running mate clause, removing the 50+1 clause, removing the 10. These are conversations that have been held since time immemorial, rather since 2021 when they ascended into power. And they've not hidden these issues. They've actually come out very open to say, look, we've got two sets of clauses that needs to be looked at in our constitution, the contentious ones and the non-contentious ones. Let's address the contentious, rather the non-contentious, and we can go back to the contentious ones. And the contentious ones, it is not a work of science or illusions, remains those clauses I've spoken to. So my bet is when the UPND wins, they will go back to addressing the contentious issues. You oftentimes hear them saying HH 2090. And the good part of the UPND, or the sad part of the UPND, is that they are very predictable. Remember when they were signing, this new constitution, the Bill 7, they actually started pronouncing that I think we need, to give HH 30 years or 20 years. But that statement actually came from one of the
statements have been made from time.
But unfortunately,
from the time Kenneth Kaunda was president of this country.
Chisha, unfortunately. Unfortunately, Chisha.
We heard those type of sentiments.
Unfortunately, Chisha, when people used to say Keke Muyayaya, they used to go ahead to field him with a flog. Okay? So we have heard the UPND make pronouncements that have only come to leave the next day. This statement of UPND wanting HH to go beyond 10 years was not pronounced by a mere individual. It started from a statement from one of the chiefs in the southern province, and it was sung by a number of UPND cadres at Mulungushi conference. So your guess is as good as mine that chances are that they would not want HH to walk out in 2031. After all, who can even take over HH if he left in 2031? They have nobody. There's no one who's credible within the files and rank of UPND that can take over HH. And these characters are not prepared to let go of power if we gave them beyond 2026. So, I will say this again, that if the UPND wins the August election, we are doomed. And if there's anybody who's going into this election to get numbers or recognition or to be on history records, unfortunately beyond this year, there may not be opposition. After all, we have seen...
But the president doesn't just have the power to just say something and something happens. You're part of the legislature. You lost faith in the work of the legislature to block something that the president would want.
You've been able to see what that legislature wing has been able to do. Against all odds, against the outcry of the people, they went and passed the infamous Bill 7. Guess who voted? Even those people we never thought would actually, buy into, these, machinations. Okay? They are about to amend the electoral law. Outrageous propositions are part of what they are trying to take to Parliament not long from now. Imagine removing a security feature of a ballot, the stamp. Imagine, insisting that Secretary Generals must be the ones to sign or nobody else. Secretary General who are recorded at PACRA. What if that Secretary General dies today? And the records at PACRA indicate that that Secretary General is the one who should sign. What if they buy that Secretary General? All those are carefully coined to ensure that they are given the edge to manipulate their competitors. Imagine what is the other outrageous proposition they've made in the proposed amendment. I need to remember that.
With the stamp on the back, there've been conversations about how the ballot itself, the paper, has enough security features, and so the stamp on the back is...
The stamp anywhere you go. The stamp chisha anywhere you go. Be it in the bank, you do a deposit. A stamp is the best security feature. Is the best form of authentication for any document. A stamp. You cannot remove a stamp from a ballot because that is authentication, the best form of authentifying a document. I'm trying to remember the other outrageous proposition they are making in this new amendment. I'll remember that. But see, the point I'm trying to make here, Chisha, is that for my colleagues in the political arena, we have led the way. We have demonstrated that we are prepared for the sake of the Zambian people, for the sake of the Zambia we need. We are prepared to leave our ego by the door. We are prepared to abandon our pursuit, our personal and individual interest. We have gone and aligned ourselves with a grouping, okay? Relegated our opportunities to lead this country, or for what? Or for our country.
How have the youth responded to this? Because they want, the point of following a young person would be to have a young leader lead the country. But now you've endorsed Honorable Brian Munduwire. That doesn't that go against the very core principles of Ichawaich?
First of all, I'm very confident that whoever Brian Munduwire is going to pick will be very youthful. Okay? So, I can say, with a lot of certainty, from the conversations I've had with my colleagues in the Tonse, I know that Brian Munduwire is going to pick somebody youthful, meaning that the young people are going to be represented at the very highest level.
If that doesn't happen, do you walk away?
No, we don't walk away, but I'm very clear that it's going to happen. Secondly, I am very confident that if Brian Munduwire wins, part of his cabinet is going to be a very youthful lot of politicians.
Why are you so confident about
I'm very
this?
confident because
how well do you know Mr.
you don't expect that I can go into an alliance without tabling these issues. There's no way I can lead a pack of young people into a place I don't know, as opportunities for them.
Why are you so confident that your demands or your proposition?
I am confident because we have had these agreements already. Like I'm saying, I am not like other, alliance partners who have gone into alliances only to get themselves a position as leaders. I have gone into this alliance having fully, negotiated a package for the young people that I've been working with. So I'm very confident if we cross this line, it will never be the same story for the young people. The young people are going to sit on the table of decision making in the next government should the alliance win. It means chances are that, and I say with a certainty, over 60% chance is that the running mate may actually be youthful to represent the young people. I'm very confident that a good number of those who are going to sit in cabinet are going to be youthful. I'm very confident that we are going to have for the first time very youthful permanent secretaries, very youthful DCs, very youthful, foreign dignitaries. Or rather, individuals are going to serve in foreign service.
So it's kicking out all the experienced people and just bringing in the youth. Is this a threat to people who've worked in the civil service for a very long time?
I am emphasizing...
We'll look at you coming in as you're just going to kick all these people out who've been working for 30, 40 years.
Chisha, I can tell you at the Ichabache gone in alone, that accession would have come alive. 3/4 of those who have been in the political arena would have actually been phased out. Now that we are going into an alliance, chances are that Kuala Chava Kala Mbane Chava Iche fuse together, and it's going to be a blend of these, demographics. So I am speaking and I'm putting a very strict emphasis that I am very confident that there are going to be a good number of young people who are going to sit on a table of decision making based on the conversation that we've had prior to us accepting to team up with our brothers. And I want to, stress this so that I assure the young people of the movement, which we've already done, by the way. We've assured our young people, our followers in the movement, that it will never be the same story after August this year. The young people in August are going to be in offices, good offices. Some are going to be in parliament, some are going to be in cabinet, others are going to be ambassadors, others are going to be permanent secretaries. That I can say with a lot of certainty.
If you just tuned in, this is the Hot Seat here on Hot FM. We have Honorable Binwell as our guest. He is independent member of parliament for Nkana, also a leader of the Chawaecha movement. I'd like to know, there was some news that came out about Tonse Alliance youths who were arrested in Kalulushi on the Copper Belt and were released on police bond. What was that meeting about? And what's the current situation there?
It's true to what they say. As things change, they still actually remain the same. The UPND were crybabies when they're in the opposition. They cried foul about, the intimidation, about, unfair treatment in the political arena when they were not being given enough, time to mobilize themselves. Unfortunately, they've continued to do exactly the same, if not worse. This is a political year, Chisha. I don't understand how, and I was saying this at the police station in Kaldushi yesterday, I don't understand how a political party in power would be so scared to go and arrest 16 people who are locked up in a hotel room planning for Women's and Youth Day. Honestly speaking, even that same law called, unlawful assembly. Unlawful assembly is a law that was created more to avoid people meeting to disturb public peace, right? So I don't think there's any logic to arrest a small grouping of people who are locked up in a room with no threat to the security of the public, who are busy planning for a national event called Women's Day and Youth Day. Unfortunately, this is what the UPND has become. They've become, they are threatened by even their own shadows. Imagine we just announced that we're joining Tonse Alliance. The entire president goes to parade students on the Copper Belt, and unfortunately the students are not even paid. So what we had or we witnessed in Kalulushi is very unfortunate, because the people that were arrested, the Tonse members that were arrested, were not, posing any threat to the public peace. They were locked up in a room at a lodge discussing, or rather making preparations for Women's and Youth Day.
So why not let the police know, just to avoid any sort of interference?
In a political year, and I was saying this to the police yesterday, in a political year, it is not possible that we can afford notifying the police of every other meeting we are going to have, because we are going to be having 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings in a day. Imagine how outrageous or cumbersome that can be to notify the police that you are going to be having 10, 15 meetings in a day, because those are meetings that we are having every single day, because this is a political year. I think that a normal society would be flexible in this regard. By the way, even that same law, the unlawful assembly, has been abused. First of all, there's no requirement by the law to get a permit from the police. There's only a requirement to notify them. And the requirement is such that they can offer security to you. So why would police want to give us security if we are going to lock ourselves up in our house or in a room at a lodge? Because you've obviously read the report of Kalulushi. When the police went to the lodge, they found the room locked up. The reason why they were locked up is because they did not want any disturbance, or otherwise did not want to pose a threat to the security of the public.
There was mention of silk. What was that about?
Well, these are insinuations that somebody mentioned that they were meeting for silk, but the truth is that they were meeting to discuss preparations for Women's and Youth Day.
Well, that came from the report. They said someone mentioned silk, and everyone is asking, what is this silk about?
What is
that?
I've not been able to...
is that code word for something?
No, silk is a women's grouping. I think it's some empowerment group for women. So they meet under some grouping called silk. So it was reported that this meeting was a silk meeting. But unfortunately, what I found on the ground yesterday is that these individuals had made to plan for Women's and Youth Day.
What happens now?
So what happens now is that they were released yesterday on police bond, but they will obviously be taken to court. This is the second incident. There was another arrest made to one of the leaders of the province of the Tonse Alliance on the Copper Belt, Council Amon Sengan Group. There are quite a number of arrests that are going on. Just yesterday, we were told our leader, Honorable Munduvide, was almost being, disturbed, for simply traveling to, the Western province. So you can see our colleagues are agitated, especially around the Tonse, because make no mistake, the Tonse is becoming the ultimate vehicle for the Zambian people to remove this monster we have.
And by monster, again, clarify, you mean the UPND?
Yes.
Why are you calling the UPND a monster?
Well, the UPND are a monster because they've basically messed up our lives. What does a monster do? A monster will obviously devour you, will disturb your peace, will disturb your lives. The UPND have actually sent this country into a reverse gear. If it is years, I can safely say that we've been taken to 50 years back.
Is that entirely true? Because when you look at the metrics for the economy,
what are the metrics?
We're in the positives now.
What are the metrics?
Currency is doing well. Fuel prices have dropped.
Chisha.
How could you say we've gone back 50 years?
Chisha.
Is that a fair statement to make?
First of all, let me say that the real economics is when numbers translate to realities on the ground.
Doesn't it take time for that trickle-down effect to happen?
So what time will it take? Because you only have 5 years. Okay? So the real economics is when these pronounced numbers actually translate into tangible results on the ground. As an example, if you're going to say the dollar the kwacha has performed very well, we should see reduction in the cost of commodities, because under the reign of the UPND...
There's been the reductions in commodities.
What commodities and what? By what
manufacturers recently had a huge meeting. 30 manufacturers
have you been
announced price reductions.
Have you been to ShopRite, Chisha? Have you been to any chain store or the market? Have you ever bought anything cheaper than you used to buy yesterday? No, sir.
So you've not seen any reduction?
What reduction? What reduction, Chisha? Because even fuel is still very high compared to the so-called enemies they called PF. The prices of fuel are extremely beyond reach. Not only is fuel beyond reach, even the availability of fuel is another problem. So we are seeing these gymnastics. We call it the election gymnastics, where you see power that has been unavailable for over 3 years is all of a sudden available. We have seen the Kwacha that has performed the worst in recent years suddenly becoming the best performing. We are seeing so much of these gymnastics, but unfortunately or fortunately for the common people on the ground, they are fully aware that these are all gymnastics of the elections.
So you don't give the UPND credit at all for turning things around when they found the economy was in the negative. You know, we're moving at a negative growth of GDP. And now that has changed. Look at the inflation rate is now in the single digit.
Chisha,
don't you give them credit for doing certain things that have improved the economy? Yes, the trickle-down effect may not happen immediately, and that's with economics. It doesn't always happen right there and then.
Chisha,
don't plant maize today and expect to harvest tomorrow is what they always say when it comes to the economy.
Chisha, I can tell you very clearly that the PF that was said to be a very bad government, which is why people made a decision to change it, even performed far better in all spheres than the UPND. I'll give you a few stats so that you can look at it.
The PF that defaulted on
Let's talk about the default on the loans. Let's talk about the default on the loans. PF borrowed and left the debt, the foreign debt at $11.9 billion, having inherited a debt of about $2 billion. So in essence, PF externally borrowed about $9 billion in 10 years. Please mark that. PF in 10 years borrowed about $9 billion because they left the debt at 11.9, having inherited a debt at about $2 billion. In 10 years, they borrowed 9. What did they do with this debt? You saw airports being constructed, the so-called sausage by President Aka in the Ichlema, Livingstone, Ndola. These are remarkable infrastructure that came out of that borrowing. You saw hospitals, a good number of hospitals, and these cannot be argued. You saw, power generating projects being, constructed. The latest was the Kafuel Lower, project. So PF, with all its borrowing, had significant amount of infrastructure that are still standing as we speak. All this flyover here is part of that borrowing of the 11.9 billion. In 4 years, UPND has pushed the external debt from 11.9 to 20 billion, meaning they've borrowed about 8.1 billion in 4 years. Now, if you compare the two, PF used to borrow the so-called Eurobond, which was fairly, rated in terms of interest. These are actually borrowing on commercial interest terms, as opposed to what they said they would be borrowing concessionally. I think that conversation we've had in Parliament almost every other year for the last 4 years, where the UPND have actually backpedaled and are borrowing not on concessional terms, but borrowing from the banks on commercial interest rates. So if you compare the two, PF borrowed excessively, but they borrowed just about $9 billion in 10 years. UPND has borrowed $8 billion in 4-5 years. For what? Have you ever been able to see anything UPND has built from the $8 billion they've borrowed? Have you seen any road they've built? Because if you talk about the dual carriageway from Lusaka to Ndola, it is our target. It is us who are going to pay. It's a PPP. Plus, there is actually criminality going on as we speak today over that dual carriageway.
What criminality is that?
Well, the PPP works in such in a manner that when the contractor does the job, they have invested, they need to recover their investment. That is when you give them the toll facilities to be collecting the money that they have invested. As we speak today, the contractor has been collecting our toll money and using that toll money to actually do the road. That is daylight robbery. In fact, aba nibasakala nyongo, because they steal what is we can actually see and what is some people are still clapping. When you look at the commodities, compared the two, I'm not speaking for PF, I left PF a long time ago, but because I was part of that government, if you compare the so-called worst performing government of the PF, the prices of commodities was quite reasonable than they are now, including the same fuel that President HH used to say, but PF balabi kapoka markup because of middlemen. These by UPND have proved to be criminals in handling our fuel. You remember for 3 years, under the arrangement of agro-fuel, it was discovered that we were paying 3 times the actual cost of fuel. This was discovered when the pipeline was now opened to be accessed by others. Now, when you are looking at those comparisons, you can tell clearly that they are criminals. By the way, PF was corrupt. These are more or less 100% more corrupt than PF was. The statistics are there. Go to the CIF, FIC, the Financial Intelligence Center. Every report since 2022 has indicated a serious surge in corruption in this country. So the UPND have proved to be more corrupt than the PF that was said to be more corrupt.
You talk about fuel being cheaper during the Patriotic Fund, but there was subsidies there, wasn't there? And then there was a huge bill that was left behind that the UPND had to come and mop up. Yes. Which is one of the positives that they've done, but you won't give them credit for anything.
But let's say this, my dear brother Chisha. Government puts up a subsidy, which is what every other government does. Every normal government in the world.
After defaulting on a loan, you go and put subsidies on commodities.
No, remember, this is not an
irresponsible with fiscal discipline.
Chisha, the subsidy is not an afterthought or an after activity. This is an activity that was accruing. You know, the subsidies were part of what every government would do. It's actually what every other government would do. Even if you go to America, the American government would cushion its season, despite America owing
a better economy.
But do you know how much America owes? America owes trillions. Actually, it's the biggest.
Has debt,
exactly,
but they didn't default. That's the difference.
Every country has got a debt, and part of that debt is government trying to make life better for the citizens. How do you make life better for the citizens? You cushion them. As opposed to this country where you give incentives only to foreigners and you punish the locals. In responsible government would create a level playing field so that citizens can be cushioned on essential commodities like fuel. That is what every responsible government does. There's nothing that would have stopped the UPND from adding subsidies on fuel had they not prioritized to satisfy their business partners. Because the 3 times cost we are paying for fuel, all that money that we were paying could have gone for subsidies. So the difference is that the PF could have subsidized, spending huge sums of money, public money, to cushion the citizens. These, our friends, put all that money in people's pockets.
What are the promises that this alliance you've come up with Honorable Brian Mundubile? We know there's high levels of unemployment.
Yeah.
The cost of living is very high. The BNNB bulletin is released every month, and it's sitting upwards of 11,000 kwacha, which a lot of Zambians can't afford. What's the plan? What are you going to do better for that Zambian who's listening now, caught at a crossroads as to what decision they'll make in August?
First of all, I'm not a spokesperson for Tonse, but I can tell you from the conversation I've had with Honorable Brian Mundubile, Honorable Brian Mundubile is not coming into the picture as an all-knowing individual. There's a difference, yeah? When, and unfortunately, I see this and I'm very saddened where Zambians believe that one single politician would have solutions for every problem. Now, that is why we are getting disappointed. Now, the Tonse Alliance is coming into this picture not as a whole figured out, arrangement. Brian Mundubile is not a guy who presents himself as knowing everything. Is depending on a team. And all these collaborations that are happening, the other groupings are coming, they are bringing with more solutions on the table. As an example, I have made serious propositions to Honorable Brian Mundubile on how we can manage the young people, because I have sat down with the young people, listened to their aspirations, listened to their, share their anxieties and their dreams. And I can tell you, Honorable Brian Mundubile with the Tonse is going to have the perfect solution for young people, and this is what is going to happen. It may look like this, because you see, young people are in categories. There are those who have had an opportunity to go to school, they've gotten into college, and they would want white-collar jobs. So, part of the priority of the Tonse Alliance when we form government will be to industrialize. And the industrialization is going to come because we are going to insist that we add value on every mineral or every resource. Now, when you add value to resources, it means you are going to create industry. Now, adding value on your maize will mean you are going to set up plants for midi meal, for gaga, which is maize bran, and all this. That creates employment. Adding value on your copper means that there are going to be industries for cables, industry for making bullets. Adding value on your mukula means that there are going to be companies that will be making furniture, companies that are going to be making all manner of products that comes out of wood. Adding value on all these resources would create industries that will create employment for those young people who are going to walk out of school with a paper. Now, there's another category of young people who are not educated, but they can do things like mining. As opposed to the approach of the UPND that goes into a mining area, sends police officers to go and kill, open fire on our young people. We are proposing a different approach. I come from the Copper Belt, and I've said this to Honorable Brian Mundubile. When I was DC, I never allowed young people to be chased from an illegal mining site without providing alternatives. We are saying this to the young people, artisanal miners, as opposed to the UPND boasting that they have given 300 licenses to artisanal mines, when there are over 50,000 artisanal mines across the country. We are saying every Zambian who would want to go into mining must be facilitated with a mining license and given an opportunity to have a place where they can mine their minerals. So there are those young people who cannot get white-collar jobs, who just needs to go into mining as artisanal mining. It is the responsibility of the Tonse Alliance to ensure that we make mining licenses, affordable and accessible to particularly Zambians. The gold we are seeing will not be mined by foreigners. The gold will be mined by a partnership between the government through a special vehicle and the locals. The over 20,000 young people who have been chased out of Mufumbwe, they are going to be taken back into Mufumbwe. They will be taken back into Mpika, I've forgotten the name, but in Mpika. They will be taken into Mumbwa. They will be taken into Shuangandu, except they will be taken in formalized manners. They will be assembled in cooperatives. They will be given licenses, and they will be given another incentive, which is some capital for them to acquire, the necessary tools they need to mine. Then through a special vehicle, all gold resources will be sold to a government, established entity. This is the second class of young people. The third class are those with talents. Those in talents like acting. Those who can go on social media and create content. We as a Tonse Alliance, government are going to make sure that, number one, monetization is going to be done within 1 year, or rather within 1 month. Remember, I took a motion to Parliament that government must monetize social media. It has been sitting on the table because President HH believes that young people are wasting their lives on social media. I Show Speed was in the country. That is a boy that has made millions of dollars from social media content creation. We are saying social media monetization is going to be something we are going to do within our first month being in government. It will create employment. It will create opportunities for young people who otherwise cannot find jobs, either white collar or cannot go into mining. We are also talking about young people who are talented in, say, producing movies. Okay, I propose to Parliament that we must set up a film fund. When we get into this government, I think you heard President Mundubile mention to this when we were doing the signing ceremony, that we are going to set up a huge fund towards empowering the film industry, because the film industry has got the potential to create massive employment. The other thing we are going to do is to double the number of jobs that currently exist by way of pronouncing a 24-hour economy. Chisha, today if you have 20,000 people working in Kabwe, if you pronounce a 24-hour economy, just know that there will be 40,000 that will be employed in Kabwe, because there will be now double shifts. So we are proposing a phased approach to a 24-hour economy, starting with the major cities, Lusaka, Livingstone, Kabwe, Chipata, Ndola, and Kitwe. These must operate on a 24-hour economy, because by default, there will be double shifts that will be created, meaning that if we have in those cities 50,000 jobs, they're going to double to 100,000 jobs. So these are but strategic, steps that we are going to take to enable us to address this issue of unemployment, especially among young people.
Needed to give you time to give out all the steps there that you're going to put up.
Yeah.
We'll be opening up the phone lines shortly on 0974-870-877. Feel free to call us so you can give us your question or contribution. But before we get to the phone lines, I just want to get your thoughts on the delimitation exercise that's going on right now. Are you happy with how the process is running currently?
It's flawed.
How is it flawed?
First of all, the reason why we argued against Bill 7 is because we saw serious deception. The process itself was flawed from the start. It was unconstitutional from the start. That is why the Constitutional Court even pronounced itself that you needed to go back to the people. Okay? So we saw a lot of deceit on the part of the UPND, because how do you propose to amend the Constitution without a basis of that amendment, especially when we talk about delimitation? Because our friends had intimated that they are going to embark on delimitation based on the 2019 report. I was serving as district commissioner for Kitwe when the 2019 exercise was conducted by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. There was a report that was produced thereafter, which report our friends insinuated they were going to base the delimitation on. Fast forward after the Bill 7 passes and it is now law, that is when now they are suggesting let's go back to the people to consult them which constituents is going to be delimited. But guess what? They've already decided which constituencies are going to be delimited. Whatever is going on in those districts is simply but a rubber stamp.
How have they already decided when they have a whole process to ask people to give their thoughts on where the lines should be drawn?
You heard my chief in Northern Province yesterday, who said if you work let it send because the officers who had gone in the Northern Province had already predetermined boundaries that they were prepared to entertain. In Kitwe, as an example, we had made propositions in 2019 that we were going to create 2 new constituencies. When they went there, they just did as they had been instructed from those that had sent them to go there. I can tell you, Chisha, that the 70 constituencies are already decided. If we were a very reasonable people, There are 10 provinces. We could have actually just said, okay, we have 10 provinces. We want to delimitate 70 constituencies. Let's give each province 10. Is it 10? 7 each, right? So 7 times 10 would have meant each province is getting 7 constituencies. And it would now up to the provinces to sit and agree where the constituencies are going to sit. But do you know why I am not even discussing this matter anyway? You will not hear me talk about this delimitation, because for me, an illegality is an illegality. Even if this constitution has been amended, I still feel that is a bogus exercise, and I am not even going to be part of it ever. But I will tell you that the UPND are mafias. Anyway, they are
using some very strong terms, some adjectives that are very strong to describe the UPND.
Chisha, Cornelius Mweto has said President HH is going to employ the best Mingalato. Who does Mingalato? It's a mafia. Do you know what Mingalato is? Mingalato is Bemba, right?
It is.
Yeah, but do you know what it is in English? It is part of what mafias does, Mingalato. So they have confessed they are Mingalato boys. So what can we call them? We are only calling them for what they've pronounced themselves to be.
But they haven't called themselves mafias.
No, but
You're
that is
the one calling them.
But Chisha, when you say I am a specialist in Mingalato, you are a mafia. There's no two ways about it.
That could mean anything.
You're
choosing the worst
unfortunately,
possible adjective to describe them based off.
Unfortunately, Chisha, I am not one of those people who will sugarcoat things. Me, I say it as it is.
Well, okay, if they're mafia, what have they done that's mafia-like?
Well,
what's going on?
Everything they're doing. First of all, they came to you. Let's amend the law. We are going to introduce delimitation. Okay, delimitation is going to be based on the 2019 report. Have they gone to the 2019 report? No. When they were amending the same, law, constitution, the Bill 7 thing, they said we are going back to the people, and they constituted a technical team which produced a report. What did they do with the report? They shelved it. They went back to the same bogus Bill 7 that they had already initially shelved at Parliament. What do you call such a people? What do you call such a people? Unfortunately, you are a people, Chisha, who are entertaining these small things. We are unfortunately the only country on this earth who would have a minister come and pronounce, because let me say this, Chisha, and this you must take them into context. A minister says, "Tualachite Mingalato." The power to elect leaders is vested in the people by the Constitution. The power to decide who is going to be councillor, mayor, MP, president is with the people. But if a government says they are going to manipulate that power through Imingalato, you, the citizens, are clapping. Are we okay? No, we are not. If a minister of information who reports what the position of government is says our president is going to use Imingalato, you know what it means to win the election. It means our president is going to manipulate the election. That is what Cornelius was saying. And we, the people, are taking it as it is. Life goes on. There's something wrong with us as a Zambian, and we need to change. So when I call them these names, Chisha, I'm not calling them from without. I am calling them by what they've presented themselves to be. They are mafias. When you are involved in this criminality at the extent we are being told by the Financial Intelligence Center that corruption has grown by over 500%, what do we call such a government? It's a criminal gang. It's a criminal gang. If you are going to borrow 8 billion in 4 years and you have nothing to show for, where is that money? Has it gone to slay queens? Because they used to say about PF Valley kuma slay queens. What can we say about them? At least if by PF Valley kuma slay queens, we could even see Ama fly over. We could see Ama airports. We could see Patala. Because that's what the UPN claim, right? That the UPN used to give their girlfriends. Ngabena bale Kongola $8 billion in 4 years with nothing to show. Does it mean what our shows of Masile Queens? Unfortunately, Mumuwe and Zambia, you like to pretend, not Binwell. I don't pretend. I call it as it is. These are mafias.
Well, let's involve people. Give us a call. 0974-870-877. We have Honorable Binwell Mpundu, who is the independent member of parliament for Nkana. You did say you moderate your tones. I wonder if that's really going to happen. Give us a call now. We'd love to hear from you.
Call now.
Pick up some headphones.
Oh, yeah. Dial 0974-870-877. The Hot Seat on Hot FM.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very well, how are you?
Yes.
Where people have lost popularity and are trying to do this. I don't know that's the thing about it. They go and tell people to do it, and it's not popular. So I'm going to have to take inspiration of this. Okay? And then on top of that, that is and that's why it's go ahead and do it. Don't stand. I think don't stand. I'm not in a Zambia. What happened is people that were told the cost of living has gone through the roof. It's about I have got to make the value of life. It's more than $10,000, you understand? And how much I think I don't I don't think by giving hand. That's $3,000. People are saying that they go to there and say, hey, man, some of the things taxes in this country, they give tax holidays. They're looking at the 2.8 billion dollars they earn. And then they're saying that no, 40 sana. 40 sana? People that are enjoying the country are foreigners. You get that? We Zambian companies are closed down because of bad economic situation in the country. And yet there are such kind of people that are saying things okay. So we support you, sir. Go ahead and we are behind you. So don't delay, don't fear, and these guys are a criminal gang, as you say, because the corruption has increased by 2%.
Lawrence, we need you to conclude, sir.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your call. 0974-870-877. Call us now. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Morning, bro.
Morning. Kindly take us off loudspeaker, please. We're struggling to hear you.
Good morning, from.
Morning. What's your name?
My name is Chanda. Good morning, Binwell.
Morning, Bachand.
On a lighter note, before I reach my point to the post, and I just want to say, November 9, I can say, so whoever want to Yama Mingala Tony, people are Mafia, I will send statement. November was in Polocoso. So if you could that Mingala to land the Mendikubola, Kunyunya, in other words.
Yes,
so now,
you have a question.
Coming to my point now, Mr. Mpundi. It is a well-known fact that you are the most reprimanded and suspended MP in the House. You know, your conduct, basically I listen to Parliament radio most of the time. I just feel, but why should somebody just be controversial over nothing? You know, are these other MPs so now that they only have to be, it only has to be you to be suspended? Are they not aware of what you know? What really do you know that you think other friends don't know? Like, for example, on the issue of saying Bill 7 was passed by people who were just 135, you said yes. 0 said no. 0 abstained. Meaning, the threshold of two-thirds majority of is it 111 or so? Although the surpassed by quite a big margin. And then even your friends, your independent friends.
Chanda, we're struggling to hear you clearly, Chanda.
Are you saying you have something so special that you say?
Hello,
if you
Chanda.
Say just you, which is a now kind of,
Sorry, that's a very, very difficult line to pay attention to, but I hope you got gist of what he was saying. Let's pick up another one. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Binu Rampondo.
Good morning.
Dr. Proud from Garden, a member of UPND.
How's your car doing, but Proud?
Your car is my car, including you is my home. For example, Binwell, don't cheat yourself. The party you have formed which you were there where member was the cross posting paper which is employing 50,000. You never raised an alarm.
Come again?
Mwali mupiye kwa the MOP for independent. Mwala ndi mu parliament kuti barungu muisala post ya newspaper na mundu veremo mwali. If you mulela ndafia ba musepera, I will remember the Kungo's type was killed in the northwestern. It was a painful time. You failed to bring any idea to say this man let us handle it this way. And those people were in Mpumbwe, some of them are foreigners. So President Hakainde is right to direct any military, be it Zambia police, Zambia army to protect you. Vulnerable. Right now, when you come in that radio station, no one will throw stone in you. During your time of your supervisor, people, there were some guns being shot at the President Hakainde. He couldn't think Mulungu's textile was a cross. You never said that us open Mulungu's textile where she went to. So continue dreaming. You will win 100%. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. All right, we had Lawrence, Chanda, and Dr. Proud there. Your response, Honorable.
So, Chanda, Lawrence spoke about the desperation of the UPND in parading students, and I sympathize with students. I come from the Copper Belt, where I've dealt a lot with our young brothers who are small-scale miners. We call them Bajirabo. I don't think that President HH can parade Bajirabo for 100 kwachas. And this is very sad, Chisha. Year in, year out, every government that comes in, President gets easily deceived by fake popularity. Whatever the friends are doing, Abanensubaku State House, to go and buy fake popularity around students who they know are desperate, they would obviously kill for 100 kwacha, is very sad. What you saw on the Copper Belt is not the reality. This is just students who wants to go and get 100 kwacha so that they can have a day go by. Because if you are not aware, these students are suffering in these schools. The so-called meal allowances that is so celebrated is so little that students hardly go by. If you are given a 600 kwacha today to survive in a month, what can you do with a 600? So every student would want to take a chance to get an extra 100 kwacha. But unfortunately, like you heard on the Copper Belt, students at Notec were not paid, and they started to, misconduct themselves. But again, that just tells you they were paid to go, and they were not going for free. And when they were not paid, they resorted to now misbehaving. Okay, so you can clearly see that that was a staged up arrangement.
That was clarified by the Notec administration,
The
right?
clarification was to the effect that they had been paid. So in fact, what even made that problem worse is the same, principal at Notec who actually confirmed that the students were being paid.
Transport numbers.
It was an allowance. Okay, there's nobody who gets to be paid an allowance, if you work outside government. The establishment of government procedures is that government only pays an allowance when you work for government. Okay, so you will be paid for what exactly? To go and endorse the president? To go and get paid by government money for endorsing the president? Anyway.
So what do you think happened there then?
Well, what happened there was basically a staging, a popularity stage. Boss, you are popular among students.
Is the president not popular on the Copper Belt?
Where?
Or am I asking the wrong person who...
Where would the president be popular on the Copper Belt? The young people...
critic of his and you wouldn't acknowledge that.
Chisha, va youth va Copper Belt vale chula finonde kweva. And like I said, the young people of the Copper Belt are predominantly small-scale miners. Abe nebalaya muma dump sites ba palaula ba kwatako to something to take home, to go into the market to buy. The marketeers on the Copper Belt are suffering because those young boys bajirabo, they are not having money. Look at what happened at KCM. What happened at KCM? So unfortunate.
Also, a lot of deaths with these
exactly
quote-unquote illegal mining.
Exactly.
And so the government had to step in to control that.
No, the government has not controlled anything.
We had a whole disaster where, 30 people...
Chisha.
were trapped underground and a lot of them lost their lives.
Chisha, I have
You would
saved,
expect the government to respond to such a situation.
I have
right?
served as a leader on the Copper Belt as district commissioner. You don't solve, mining accidents by taking away a mining dump site from the young people. Mwaya pela ma Chinese naba nenu obo mulya nabo. You solve that problem by ensuring that you empower those young people to have equipment so that they can avoid accidents. Filefia chitika kuchingola ukuba poka abayiche kula konsoko bale bombera kufirongoma kuma dump sites. What a responsible government would have done, not to kupera filefima dump sites kuba Chinese na nkuba nabo bali mu buteko kuya pera balabeni abayiche except let's help you to have safe mining practices. Mwayabika kwa basambire fya safe mining, mwabapera kwa ma equipment so tabale imba na ma shovels. That's what a responsible government does. So kukopa belt takuri poku di konsoko ba HH benga ba popular because the young people there who actually pushes the economy of the copper belt bale fwane nsalaba iche ba copper belt bale abe ne bajera bo mwayi babalya eba shitemi otoka. So all those who trades in cars balolera bajera bo ngabaya bene babomba mumpanga bayisangira ma minerals, they get some money from the Chinese after bashisha, they go and buy cars. Bali aba bomba ma markets bana marketia, they get from the jirabos bajirabonga babomba batwalira bana abafiashi babo baya ku market bayashita. The entire economy of the copper belt ni balabene abayiche bajirabo. So ngamwa besalira kukito bali besalira, they are not doing anything. Kuchingola bali besalira, kuchirira bombwe bali besalira, kumufurira all the dump sites have been given to foreigners. How do you expect the president to be popular on the copper belt among young people? The only thing they can do is to go they can easily be excited with a 50 kwacha or with a 100 kwacha. That is a short-lived, or a staged popularity context here at Copper Belt. Civil servants, he says, are struggling. Now imagine you boast of creating employment among public servants. Mwaingshaba nasi, mwaingshaba teacher, naba shala. Ero bali abale folama peanuts ngaingira mu Shoprite mulya naka basket takale kuma no kwisula because the commodities are so expensive. But teacher lelo bali nenkongole bamona bali shitata commit na suicides lelo. I have had a friend ningwato munani teacher wako bati alafuma mukufunda aya mukuchita mukubombe yabuka boy. Imagine if you're able to fikire lelo, because you can't survive with the salaries the public servants are getting. Ero numba no kuya bazembere ko kubapera 700 quarter salary increment. No kulumba balarum, but we are the best in history. Michael Sata increased the pecs of civil servant by over 100%. Imwe mwaya pera 700 after to landa because they had stalled the negotiations. Mwaya pera 700 and you are even claiming no, we love the civil servant. But civil servant chisha bale chula such that even those employment opportunities you are creating, it amounts to nothing because bale afemubu chushi. You have no idea when payday comes for these civil servants. But chika ngafe payday ilaisa no kuisa because payday is simply agony for these public servants.
So what would you do then if you're the ones that are in power? What do you do with the civil servants?
The civil servants deserves better. They deserve better remuneration. They need to be paid, not those slave wages they are being paid. They need to be paid better. They need to have better conditions. Akaleba civil servants vale kwata kono tuma workshops. Somo vale kwatira ka tuma to balancing up. Civil servants need to have all these incentives. They need to have access to facilities that can give them, housing facility, housing units. They need to have facilities that can enable them to, go farming or otherwise. All these incentives must be available. Ilelo, I may sound very unpopular. Na tule kanumba because of desperation. Abantu bale pepaira ine napsa partial withdraw. But if you look at all those who have gotten partial withdrawal, now when you withdraw partially from your pension, for you to create ukwa kuisa fikiranga wa poka pension. But partial withdrawal number ile pitirira fye kuma skulu na mungu chita atenda ma problems because ababa civil servants ba kuata ma problems such that na ile partial withdrawal na isanguka number ni enemy because they are eating away their pension to attend to their own day-to-day problems. So a responsible government, because the civil servant is what moves the country, okay, needs to take care of these civil servants by creating all those incentives, better pay packages, other,
where would you
incentives.
get the money from to pay civil servants?
There's so much money in this country, Chisha. There's so much money. As an example, this government gives an incentive to the mining companies to allow them to be selling to be exporting copper concentrates from June to December last year without paying duty. They are taking away our minerals without paying a single ngwe. First of all, we have been duped in this country. We don't benefit from our minerals as we are supposed to. We only benefit kansonsela through taxes. Ordinarily, this government should have been benefiting more. But even that same tax we should be getting from the minerals, this government gives the mining companies to be taking those minerals without paying excise duty. We lose the little that should have gone towards increasing the pay for workers. Okay? When you export concentrate, takwa chalo in this modern day that would allow minerals to be exported in concentrates. But that is what this government is doing. They allow minerals to be exported in concentrate form, and on top of that, they don't even charge tax. We lose over $5 billion in just less than 6 months. Do you know what $5 billion can do to these struggling civil servants? It can increase their pay by 100%. I can challenge any mathematicians to do the mathematics. Those minerals that were allowed to be exported in concentrate form, we lost over $5 billion in just less than 6 months. $5 billion is a lot of money that can go towards the welfare of these public servants. We are allowing God to be taken out and regulated properly. You know what is happening in this scandal? This is the worst scandal of the year, but the way we are handling the God issue. I have stayed to UPND. Ghana used to face the worst serious or the worst problem of illegal gold mining. They called the illegal miners Galamzees. When the president came, when I was debating, unfortunately I was curtailed by the Moyo. I was trying to educate by UPND president of Ghana how they've dealt with the illegal gold mining. There's gold everywhere today. Kumumbwa, ku Palufunsa, ku Eastern Province, ku Kasama, ku Mpika, ku Solwezi. There's gold everywhere. What a responsible government should do is that mineral should now be managed by the state. Create a special vehicle of the state that is going to be solely responsible for buying all the gold. Involve the locals to be mining that gold so that we can get the maximum revenue out of the gold resources, which can now go towards attending to all these problems like civil servants. There is a lot of money, Chisha, in this country, except it is being handled recklessly because somebody somewhere has an interest and is getting somewhere through the decisions they are making. Instead of formalizing them and helping them to benefit from those minerals, then you bring your friends from other countries to start mining the gold. And then you say,
without that tax that you speak of, wasn't that about the capacity for the smelters here to be able to process those concentrates?
What capacity? If there's no capacity,
there were stockpiles that were left unattended to.
It is not
and
true.
we were losing out on revenue based off of that.
It is not true.
So it's not just a straightforward thing to say they just removed this tax and then just started exporting these concentrates.
Tell me.
We had a crisis that needed to be dealt with, isn't it?
Tell me what rationale that is. We are losing money because Takudi smelting capacity, right? Then you allow which is better? Let's allow the capacity we have to continue processing panels so that we can be getting some revenue, or allow our money to just go free. Because remember the danger. When you allow concentrates to go out unprocessed, or our minerals to go out unprocessed, you are not just taking away your copper. You are taking the gold, you are taking the cobalt, and all other valuable minerals through those concentrates. And unfortunately, those minerals are not accounted for. So in essence, how much are you losing? That is why I will tell you, we lost in a space of 6 months over $5 billion from that reckless decision. So it doesn't make sense where you say we have no smelting capacity, so let's allow our minerals to just go free. It doesn't make sense.
Let's pick up some more calls,
Please.
Before we come to a close. Call us now. Hello, good morning. Unfortunately, we lost that call there. Do try and call us back, 0974-870-877. Hello, good morning. Please turn off your radio, sir.
Okay.
All right, and also take us off loudspeaker, please.
Okay. You can get me now.
Much better. Your name?
This is Bartholomew.
Bartholomew.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, Honorable.
Morning, Bartholomew.
Okay, thank you. Honorable, my point up, therefore corporate business.
Okay.
You haven't mentioned each of who got so many foreigners, especially those who are owning a home shop.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, this point goes even to the ruling party. Please help us, or how can we handle this issue? Because I'm seeing a situation where what happened in South Kivu in Congo, those Bloomville and these who settled in that area. Because if you see the situation in Zambia, there is a lot of foreigners, especially the age of maybe 15 to 30. So now, if Kawapela 10 to 15 years, they will probably become Zambian, and then Bafiara not Fianana. So it will be difficult for us because that's settled. So it's really where we share expenditure, Mama. So
Bartholomew.
what is some free for some of us who are
Bartholomew.
but
Hi, Bartholomew. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What is your issue with the foreigners? Because they are foreigners who are here legally. So what's the main issue? What's your concern with foreigners?
Yes, my issue is that in most cases, and quite a cases by immigration, which I'm a trophy by Sarah. So which means that here illegally, Mama. So this is my issue where the government and the also incoming government should look at.
Okay, Bartholomew, thank you for your call.
Thank you so much.
All right, just needed clarity on what his main concern was, because we don't want to spew xenophobic rhetoric here. Call us now. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. I think we may have lost that one. Do try again. 0974-870-877. What is your contribution? We really want to hear from you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
You are talking to Brother Namanda in Kampumba here.
Brother who?
Namanda.
Brother Namanda.
Namanda. Okay, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, Honorable, good morning.
How are you, Namanda?
How's the
UPND?
No, UPND
So sana. Tamwaka ushe imweyo. Yes, sir.
Namanda, your contribution.
Yes, what I can tell you, Honorable, is that many Zambians today, they are appreciating what the president has done, what the president is doing. What in Zambia and Brazil Aba Ichabaima. Bantu hasa inde haba tera mineral allowances. Ama bazari, bakirati,
muna ni usiku na wawiro mbele umuchere kwenyu umuchere sana babitamu mune n'abacabareke ndamakinga icyatala kipapo mukiye they have schemes under CPF to pay abakupare ndawo abakukula abakubira bamasuti mwala ngarebira kwabaye afuma kwaka idabe ngisa kunekero kudi tuwali umuntu tekyataki ore batira tushita cha mwana wange yo akoni kichakara kimairo ali paka bulonga abana nono batira free education bito ni mumusere bale biko musere abayi tumba bayitaba nono nga bayishira eke muna ni usima bale bita mumusere
wanamanda twatotera mkwai
so imwe bale isaba opposition tamuko tekya kuida abantu tamuko tepo mugakita bantu bambi mwe bamende bali ando opo mwali fishi mwachi nde fishi mwali chitakuma contract bale kuba bamende mwe
twatotera mkwai.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, Bartholomew and Namanda there. You can respond as brief as you can before we close.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Namanda, chintangombe mwamwene malo kukitwe. Na nibudia bushiku. There were students that were ferried from all the schools and they were motivated by something. And for a student, kama mpela 100 kwacha, how that base. Whether balem support na mutabalem support. So in my advice to you, ngamlefo kwa fokateka mwebeni chilipa ground. Because if you are going to be staging popularity context like that, you are going to mislead the president. Where he should have seen there's a problem, he's not going to see problem because he's going to be showered by praises. Bartholomew laments about the foreigners being here. This is a country that celebrates more foreigners than locals. The foreigners who are coming here, Koba capital, they can easily set up a business. Those who are coming in, with bigger capacities, they are finding more incentives when they come to do mining activities. Government, yaba tax incentive, incentives. If as an example, they are even allowed to export our minerals for free. But the locals here are languishing. Chisha. Do you know the anguish of the local businessman today? Ilelo, a businessman would supply to Mopani, supply and contractors. But supply to Mopani akali repair within 30 days. Today Mopani will take 60 or 90 days to pay you. But ZRA tabakwata compromise if you have not paid the taxes. So if you have supplied and you have not paid in 60 days, ababa ZRA na pope nefenga taudi pile, they will go and revoke your tax clearance certificate. And when your payment comes, they will garnish immediately. So, businessman lelo bale kwata fe supu pakano tapali pona akamupusa bale diapo because ZRA has been unleashed to unfairly treat the locals. Now imagine a businessman or ZRA, and ZRA revokes the tax clearance. How is that businessman going to operate without a tax clearance? And if he doesn't operate, how is he going to pay the same in Congole that ZRA is bindering? So what this government has done has made it very, very difficult for the locals to enjoy business, but they've given all manner of incentives for foreigners to come and enjoy business. You go into the shops, you find, in the compounds, you find Rwandese, Congolese, because Vena, Balaisa Notuma capital, the capital that the locals cannot enjoy. If the locals had owned those shops, the Rwandese would not be here to own those shops. They are here because they've seen an opportunity where there are no shops in the community, they come and set up the shops. Shops in communities because the locals have got no incentives. So we are dealing with a government that only looks at the interest of foreigners, the interest of the big players. They don't look at the interest of the locals. But ababa tataba proud bachisala nachifoku basuka bachitila mu PF yali bipire. That's why Kungo was killed. Uyo Kungo balela ndapochisha was PF chairman for Northern Province, who the UPND cadres killed in cold blood while he's filming the ordeal. Ukumula samawe kumuma ule nkonto chairman waba UPND on mere suspicions that he had ballot papers by UPND. eo baipe obalanda kubachila bateba muipe ba proud muletekanya nimwe muipe bantu benu eba muipe on suspicions that he had ballot papers. That speaks to the violence that is in the UPND. Contrary to assertions that by UPND are peaceful people. In by UPND chisha, if they don't like you, they can come and abduct you. The way Black Apple was abducted at a grave site, abduct, vaya mu pumaula, vale mu kopa no kumukopa, va posta na pa video. Is that what you can say kadarism ya muno? Because the kadarism ya muno ya fumafe mu market, filiaba PF balesta mu market chongo, but it is so lethal. By UPND nga muapusana fe balabe batabena kanasha. Nga muapusana fe they will follow you and they will maim you. Baka kukontabula molu. So you should not even be proud, imaba pride. Ukula letefi. Bachanda muachitila ine nariba controversial. Ichabi pakuchishinka. The truth hurts. People think that those who speak the truth are controversial. Ngaba no benishita batamfisha mu parliament. You should ask yourself, nish bantamfisha mu parliament. Ngafila fine last week, ndechita debate speech ya Ghana president. Yero ba speaker balenjeba, no, bushemo chali icho. Because they don't want to be told the truth. So unfortunately, I am not one of those who's going to kumyanga mumatui awe nshaba muni program iyo iyakula myebefe mulefu okumfwa ine kumyebefe tamulefu okumfwa. If you are going to call it controversial, well and good, but the truth must be said so that it helps those in power to do the right thing.
I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, and thank you those who have called and those who tuned in. I will be glad to come another day so that we can continue this conversation.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Very well, thank you.
All right, well, my guest today has been Honorable Binwell Mpundu. He is the Independent Member of Parliament for Nkana, and also founded the Movement for Good Governance, otherwise known as Ichaba Iche. Thank you very much for listening. If you tuned in on Hot 87.7 here in Lusaka, also on Kwitu FM 93.3, our sister station, also live